Story 1. I'm doing it. I'm leaving my wife, the woman who has beat me when she's drunk, who isolated me from my friends and family, who has had control of my finances for years. I finally did it. I got the courage to leave. She didn't allow me to eat today as punishment for going out with old friends for New Year's. She purchased all the groceries so they were hers, not mine. I went to the gas station and picked up a sandwich, and when I returned, all hell broke loose. She screamed at me and told me to leave the house. I didn't ask if she meant permanently or until she cooled off. Her anger stemmed from her financial control over me. She was implying I was hiding money from her. I just packed a bag while she yelled at me and walked away, called my mother, and am now on her couch. It's been a few hours since this all happened, and I'm finally calmed down. I was shaking with fear when I was leaving, all the way until an hour after I got here. My mom heated me up lasagna, and I was too shaken up to even eat. But I'm out now. I have sent multiple messages to friends, and it turns out that most of them knew it wasn't my fault that I became distant. Everyone has been offering to help me when it comes time to get my things from our house. I have friends of friends who are men, my wife and I are both women, who are offering to be there for my protection. I haven't been able to cry yet. I think I'm still in shock. Everything just happened so quickly. Like I just snapped back into reality and packed a bag and left. I finally told my mother what life has been like. Oh, Bice. I knew it was bad, but seeing my mom cry for me really hit me how bad it actually was. I just can't believe I'm out. I can sleep tonight without worry of my wife's mood. That's it. And that's all I want to say. This is obviously a throwaway because she knows my personal Reddit, and I'm just not ready to be so public. If you read this far, thank you. It's a crazy start to the new year, and I'm terrified about what's next. I hope in 6 months I can look back on today and be grateful that I made that decision. Story 2. I shaved my leg with a man's electric face razor, and I feel like I just unlocked a cheat code of life. Let's make this clear. It had never been used by a man before. I got it for my sons and then learned how to actually promote their little pubescent facial hair growth so neither needs it. But I still had it, so I popped it out and used it on my legs. It was so easy. Took 3 minutes per leg. No stubble, no missed spots, no nicks, no razor bumps. Didn't have to time anything like with hair removal creams. No crazy yoga, no searing pain or skin ripped off, no hot dripping liquid on my body, and cords and lights with the glasses. Or you see spots. None of it. And then I got my lotion out, and it just rubbed on like butter. I feel like model legs. And I'm a grown-ass woman. Why was this secret kept from me for so long? I have been deprived. No more. When I'm feeling brave, I'm gonna use the sideburns trimmer on my hoo-ha. But I can make some fun designs in that bad boy after years of training with horror techniques. Story 3. My girlfriend doesn't like that I'm knowledgeable about women things. I, 32M, have been dating my girlfriend, 28F, for about 6 months, and she is uncomfortable with the fact that I am knowledgeable and comfortable talking about women things. I have been in long-term relationships for most of my adult life. I grew up with sisters and female cousins that I am close to, and I was pre-med before switching to engineering. All that to say, I'm comfortable discussing periods, birth control, and the like. I'm familiar with female anatomy, and I don't have a problem with buying or carrying period products. Lingerie, makeup, perfume, etc. She, on the other hand, grew up in a fairly small, rural, and conservative town. She had sisters, but her dad and other male members of her family apparently would make jokes, gagging noises, or otherwise shame them for talking about/having their period. I have period products in my bathroom for anyone that visits that needs them, and that weirded her out, asking who left them there. I tried to have a conversation about what her symptoms usually are and what she likes/needs when she is having bad symptoms so I can be as helpful as possible during that time, and she refused to have that conversation. One time she had mentioned being out of pads and I offered to get some, and she seemed upset that I offered. When we dress up to go out on nicer dates, I try to tell her what I'm wearing, or ask what she's wearing so we can color coordinate if she is into that. After a few times of asking/telling, she asked why, and I explained that I thought it would be cute to match. She basically asked if one of my exes liked to match, and said she doesn't care enough to do that all the time. I have a base level knowledge about nails/manicures. I've gone a few times/usually date women who get their nails done and pay attention to what they say they get, and have done some Googling for ideas to help them fit a certain style. She did the classic "what should I get" test, and all I said was that I like the way the rounded or almond tips look over the others, and I think an earth tone would look good for fall. Who taught you about nails? She was legit upset. This all came to a head when, after she told me that she wanted me to go with her to pick out new underwear to wear for you, I took the initiative to just go and surprise her with several pair from Victoria's Secret. She usually wears thongs day to day, but she likes to sleep in boy shorts or hipsters, so I grabbed a few of each. She was absolutely flabbergasted that I, A lone man went into a store for women, found the underwear section, searched through them to find the ones I was looking for, carried them to the front, and walked back through the mall into my car with a bright pink bag. She asked if I had help from someone that worked there, if I had someone go with me, and then how many times I had gone there before with other women to be so familiar and comfortable doing it on my own. She has expressed in some ways some form of gratitude that I am not as ignorant/clueless as the stereotypical guy about these things, but in the moment she's upset because it's a reminder that I've dated other women before her. Story 4. My wife's sister is causing drama in our marriage, and I'm scared it'll keep happening. Need advice. Hey Reddit, I need some perspective on my situation. I've been married for 2 years and we just had a baby. Lately, I've been feeling like there's been a shift in my wife's behavior, and I'm pretty sure her sister has something to do with it. For the past 6 months, even during the pregnancy, I've noticed my wife acting differently toward me. At first, I chalked it up to pregnancy hormones, but now I'm not so sure. It feels like her older sister has been influencing her, maybe even manipulating her. I've tried bringing it up a few times, but whenever I do, my wife gets super defensive. She insists her sister is an angel and would never try to mess with us, and she accuses me of implying her sister is jealous, which I've never said. Every time I try to talk about it, it ends with her getting mad and the conversation going nowhere. To give you some context, my wife and I are immigrants, and her sister lives in our home country. The issues started when her sister was trying to get a visa to come help after the baby was born. I suggested we invite our moms instead, thinking it might be easier, but I think her sister might have misunderstood that and thought I didn't want her to come. After the baby was born, things got worse. My mom came first to help, but she was never really welcomed, and that just caused more problems. Once my wife's mom got her visa, I sent my mom home and arranged for her to come instead. Here's where it gets really messed up. A few days ago, I noticed my wife's Facebook was open on my phone. She forgot to log out, so I decided to check out the messages between her and her sister. I'm glad I did, because what I found was shocking. It turns out every issue between us was being planted by her sister. She was giving my wife advice on how to create problems with my mom, and even telling her how to hide things from me, like keeping income secret and making excuses for why we shouldn't have a joint bank account. I confronted my wife about everything I found. She was upset. I read her messages, but her mom was absolutely mortified. She immediately called her sister, along with my wife, and insisted that she call me to apologize. My wife apologized to me and promised this wouldn't happen again. Then, her sister called me. She didn't call because she wanted to apologize, but because she was forced by her mother and my wife to do so. During the call, she justified everything she did, claiming it was all because she loves her sister. She also accused me of hating her and constantly nagging her, which is completely untrue. She tried to flip the situation on me, making me feel guilty and sick to my stomach. I still love my wife and believe she's a good person, but I feel like her sister has been manipulating her in ways that are toxic for our relationship. I really don't want to separate, especially with a newborn, but I'm scared it'll happen again. Her sister's call showed me that she's not going to stop. Has anyone been through something like this? What can I do to protect my relationship and family from this kind of manipulation? I don't want to lose my wife, but I'm worried this could keep happening. Story 5. My dad told my mom he wants to date a woman at his work. My parents, 59M, 65F, have been together for 28 years. Their 29th anniversary is in 25 days. My 23F, dad, has been acting strange for the last few months allegedly, but today, the 1st of January 2025, he told my mom that his 40-year-old female coworker confessed to him, and he wants to date her while still loving my mom. A woman had been calling and texting my dad during New Year's, but my dad had told her it was just family wishing them well for the year. We, mom, dad, my fiance, and I, were celebrating New Year's together, and suddenly I hear my mom start crying, screaming, and she collapsed to the ground in the yard. My dad shook his head and walked away with his tools and stalked off. I went to pick her up and she starts sobbing that my dad has a girlfriend, but later I found he hadn't slept with her yet apparently. I'm supposed to let this man walk me down the aisle where I swear love through health and sickness for life, when he may not keep his own vows? My mom has been there for him through sickness and health. She stayed with him through one of the most severe spinal injuries possible after an accident where he learned how to walk, talk, and do anything again after my mom gave birth to my brother, now 21M. He never got to hold my newborn brother due to him being in hospital and physical therapy for years. So my brother and father do not have a relationship, so my brother accepts it somewhat, but he's mad for my mother. She's never looked elsewhere to other men for other needs because she loves my dad, and he says he loves her even now. But how can I believe that? He refuses to see a marriage counselor or to even see a personal therapist for himself to work through the current marriage issues. He says he wants to sell their house they bought together and just be done with it. It being their marriage, I'm assuming. How can I let him walk me down the aisle and give us, fiancé and I, his blessing when I cannot look at him? I'm not sure how to feel. I cried for a second to my brother about their ongoing issues, but how can I even talk to him anymore? Story 6. My wife spent €1,500 on Christmas gifts this year, and I think it's insane. This whole month, I've been acting like the Grinch who stole Christmas whenever my wife wanted to buy Christmas gifts. I don't want to gift something to that person. We have never given my family gifts. Why would I start now? And why does the gift have to be this expensive? But my wife kept insisting how important it is in her Latin American culture to give gifts to literally everybody. Well, I just made up the balance. And despite all my nagging, the total money spent on gifts this season has been almost €1,500. I think that's insane and absolutely unnecessary. I get that her culture is different from mine, and my family lacks any culture, even by Dutch standards, but I think we ended up giving gifts to over 50 people. I don't see why this is necessary. I get that if you are a parent or a grandparent, you buy a gift for your children or grandchildren. Maybe even for your spouse, but she didn't understand why I insisted she couldn't buy gifts for my cousin or my friend's children. I have never given them Christmas gifts. Why the hell would I start now? Christmas is for caring about family and friends. But that doesn't mean that every person you know needs to receive a gift. And even if you disagree about that, a very small gift like a chocolate bar or a tiny thing from a Chinese website should be okay. Not everything needs to be thoughtful or expensive. I think that if next year we can spend 20% of what we spend this year, I would already consider that too much. It's a day. To save myself from answering the same questions multiple times, we have a joint bank account. She also has an income, but I make significantly more than she does. It's not like 1.5K will put us into financial trouble, but I think it's wasteful and would prefer to have used that money for other things. There are plenty of large expenses coming our way in 2025. We are newly married, but have been living together for several years. I don't recall that she spent this much on Christmas gifts last year. Story 7. Found out my mom cheated on my dad years ago, and my brother might be my half-brother. So I, 16F, rarely got along with my dad, 46M, because he has this sort of stoic mindset, if that makes sense. Like, he thinks his only purpose in life is to work himself to death and be the strongest person in the gym. From what I remember growing up, he wasn't really a comforting figure in my life, which made me resent him and was kind of scared of him. My mom was the comfort parent, and I saw my dad as the strict mean parent, who only really punished me, so I'm way closer to my mom. He had been extra sarcastic and kind of a dick MO. He has an extremely stressful job, but it pays extremely well, and because he thinks his only purpose is to be the breadwinner, he refuses to do a different job that would still give him a great salary, but would be less physically and mentally demanding. He has the option to do this, but like I said, he doesn't want to quit his job. So sometimes he can be kind of a dick, but I had enough and I just started crying at him, saying that I'm tired of how he acts, how I never know whether or not he'll be happy or extremely stressed when he gets home from work, how my mom always has to listen to him vent about his work every single day, etc. My mom was in the room, by the way. Then he dropped the bomb that my mom had cheated on him in the early 2010s-ish with different men, and it destroyed him, and that's why he works himself to death, and he works out like absolute crazy as a means of coping because he doesn't know how. That most of his PTSD, he has some from being a cop, is from knowing that the love of his life, the woman he had saved himself from marriage for, had cheated on him. He also was outside the house of one of my mom's affair partners with a gun because he wanted to kill him. He didn't only because he had kids he cared about. That the only reason we moved towns wasn't for a job offer in a different city. It was because he would see my mom's affair partners in public, and he'd want to kill them. This was the only time I had ever seen my dad cry. Various things that happened in my childhood finally started to make sense. They went to a couples therapist one time and never went back for a second time. My dad had also been to a therapist on his own twice but didn't go back because it wasn't for him. My mom says she regrets cheating and that she was being immature and stupid at the time, but that I don't know everything about my dad, but she doesn't want to talk badly about him. They started bickering, and I literally just screamed at them to shut up, and I made them both agree to find and see a really good couples therapist for at least a few sessions and go from there. With what my dad revealed, I realized that the timeline where my mom had cheated was around the time my brother, preteen, would have been conceived. I asked if they ever did a DNA test, and my dad said he has had one in his room for a long time, but he's too scared to do it. My brother overheard everything. Things have been a little bit weird ever since it happened. On one hand, I'm glad I know why my dad is kind of fucked up, and a bunch of other things that finally made sense to me, but I also hate what happened and it makes me feel icky inside, if that makes sense. I love both my parents, and I'm not holding a grudge against my mom because it was over a decade ago and she regrets ever doing it. Also, this was all during New Year's Eve, and instead of celebrating, I just had this fucking insane talk/argument with my parents, and it was already like 12:20 once it was done. Blesh. I hate this. I know other people's family situation are way worse, but I hate it AAA. Story 8. My host family keeps asking me to move to a different house for a few days. I am in the US doing an internship, so I'm not an exchange student, but the dynamics are pretty much the same. I have been with my host family for 4 months, and everything seemed to be going great. I get along with the kids and I enjoy their company. I am also very grateful I get to be here. In the program I am doing, each intern has a host family and a friend family. My friend family is nice. I see them once a week, but the relationship is not the same, and I still don't feel fully comfortable with them. A few weeks ago, my host mom told me that her mom was about to die and that I had to go over to the friend family's house for a few days. I understood the situation and complied. The other family's house is not ready to host anyone, as I don't have a room for myself and have to share the bathroom with the kids, which is in another floor. The part of the house where I stay also gets incredibly cold, with the windows having frost/ice on the inside part. This family was very welcoming though, but I also understand they signed up to be a friend family and not a host family. I just don't feel comfortable in that house, let alone the fact that all my stuff, toiletries, books, computer, clothes, are in my host family's house. Fast forward to today. The host mom told me that she would be having family over this weekend to celebrate her mom's life, and that I should probably go spend some time with the other family. I asked if she meant spending the night there, and she started talking about how she is grieving her mom, etc. She also mentioned that on some weekends/full weeks, they are going to be away. I would be going over to the friend family to sleep over there. A week ago, she also confronted me about not interacting with them as much. Although I do, the kids love me and I enjoy spending time with them. I tried to explain that I was trying to call my family back home a little bit more because Christmas was coming up and my mom was sick. But I feel it's also not fair to be demanding that I spend more time with the kids, mainly so I can speak to them in my native language, when she doesn't want me here all the time. I am trying to understand her situation. I can't imagine how hard it is to lose a parent, but at the same time, I feel she has a commitment with me. I barely ask for rides anywhere, as they are very busy and always try to figure it on my own. I don't ask for crazy things, and I think I constantly show how grateful I am to be here with them. But I can't help feeling really out of place right now. I understand I am not part of their family, but I can't help but feel bad when she sends me to the other family's house at the slightest inconvenience. I don't understand why I can't stay over at the house while they are away. I am plus 21 and don't drink or party. I have never given them any problem at all. They also have cameras so they could easily see what was going on in the house. Story 9. I am going to disown my father this Saturday. Throwaway BC, he stalks me and could have found my main. This time, I, 29F, will be disowning my father, 57M, this Saturday. Honestly, I can go on and on and on about what a POS he is, but I'll summarize. He never hit or cursed me. That was and is his defense in everything. He made me feel worthless and called me selfish for being a human being with needs and wants. I think he disowned me like at least 6 to 7 times now, and when I was little, he would ignore me for months for things he perceived as disrespectful. It could be anything really, and he would not tell me why. He used to joke about how I was a bad daughter in front of other people and laugh until I cried or stormed out. Then he would say I could not take a joke and my tears were just manipulation to feel righteous. I think you got the gist? A total bully who did not think ever he did anything wrong. And he is delusional as well. I pitied him for a long time and tried to help him, but he never did listen. Last year he filed a suit basically claiming me and my sister as not his biological children. That is his delusion, by the way. He always thought my mom cheated on him, like she would talk to any men, and he would throw a tantrum and sometimes even leave the house. We did not challenge the suit and demanded DNA testing. Lo and behold, we are his biological children. I know. A shocker, really. The results came through a few months ago, and he apologized to my sister and my mom, and they did not forgive him. Again, a shocker. He finally wrote to me after like 4 months, and what he said was, and I quote, "I tried to find a reason to apologize to you and I could not. I'm sorry. You made me feel so worthless that I think that is one of the reasons I filed the suit. And he said he still loves me no matter what, and we should meet up whatever." Now, I was waiting for this, because that is his pattern. He disowns/leaves. And then he comes back around, tells you that he still loves you and he forgives you, and you go talk to him and something happens and he leaves/disowns again. Since he has nobody left around him, I was waiting the day he would write to me and he did not disappoint. Upon receiving his very long declaration that he is such a good person that he is willing to move past my slights, I will admit one part of me wanted to pretend like nothing happened and to continue to try being a daughter he wanted. But therapy is magic, and I finally decided to go forward with my plan. My plan? Basically, ever since my mom and sister got their apology and the following confrontations, I wanted one too. I never confronted my father. I sometimes challenged him, but that was all via text. I never looked at him in the eye and said anything that might upset him. Honestly, when I am near him physically, I turn into a pathetic doormat. So my plan is to disown him for good face to face. I will be the one to do this time. Honestly, I know it is selfish. I know maybe brutal, but I need this. Ever since he wrote to me, I am having nightmares that my fiancé is leaving me. I have a deep-rooted abandonment fear, and he triggered it with one simple message. I need to take control of these reins and finally be the one to decide to leave, and I need to do it face to face. Call me a bad person if you will, but I need this closure. For people who don't think this way, wish me luck. I am terrified and I will need it. Story 10. I am so burnt out and my kids make it 100x worse. I have 3 kids, 2 of which are 15 months apart, 6 and 8. Some days are just unbearable, picking up the same shit 5,000 times a day. Their room being completely destroyed and whining and crying because they have to pick it up every day. The fighting, the screaming, the crying, all the fucking goddamn time. It never ends. They are extremely loud all the time. My good-for-nothing husband just sits and plays video games with his online friends after work. He does nothing. To be clear, I work 2 full-time jobs, and clean, and cook, and make sure the kids do all the things they need to. I do the laundry. I take time off for their appointments. Their grandparents see them for maybe an hour or 2 at my house once or twice a year. Zero support from anyone ever. And then everyone wonders why I'm so unhappy all the time. This day, gee, I wonder why. Face with rolling eyes, and if I ask, I'm told nope or sure, and then when the time comes for them to follow through, they suddenly can't. So, fairly certain I'm undiagnosed autistic, and maybe also ADHD. I am so overstimulated all of the time. I'm tired of my house looking like it hasn't been cleaned in months when I do it every day. I can't just not take care of it because then I will have even more anxiety than I do now. Constantly turning lights off and shutting doors for them to be opened and turned on seconds later. Closing left open cabinets no matter how many times I say to not do that. The Glade plugins for my outlets, someone constantly turns all of them sideways. There are 7 in my house. Numerous times a day. WHOTFIS. Doing this and why. It drives me absolutely insane. And like, why is turning them sideways even a feature? Face with symbols on mouth. To add, my extremely hyperactive son wakes up at the ass crack of twilight every single day. 0500. Like clockwork. His circadian rhythm is completely intact. I am certain he is also neurodivergent. Constantly jumping and moving and making noise of some kind. All the big lights on, all the sounds WAUP, from the time he wakes up till his head hits his pillow, and he is OUT at 8:30 p. every night. I am the exact opposite. If I could live in complete silence and darkness 100% of the time, I would. I'm beyond resentful toward my husband, and he knows it. I'm starting to hate my own kids, and I know that sounds horrid, and I feel like a bad mom because I just can't deal with all this stuff. And also want to spend time with my own kids. I wanted to let the kids stay up till midnight tonight for the new year, but their behavior was especially bad tonight for some unknown reason, and I couldn't take it anymore, so I sent them to bed at 8:15 p.m. I literally am breaking. I don't know how to fix it since I'm all alone. I have no one I can rely on or count on for anything at all. By the end of every day, I am completely wiped, and as soon as my kids are in bed, I am too, because I simply have nothing left in me to even try and stay up even 30 minutes later. I never get enough restful sleep, as it is so waking up earlier than 0500 when my son does is not an option. I pretended to be drunk to talk to the girl I like. We usually talk for 15 to 16 hours on call a week anyway, but I have never been able to open up about small things in my life or have had the courage to tell her small things I like about her. Usually we just talk about TV shows we both have seen or games we both play, or bitch about our college life like professors, assignments, etc. 2 to 3 days before NYE, I was alone, stuck in a hotel because my travel plans fell through because of bad weather, and I really wanted to talk to her, but it was really late, like after 1 a.m. So when I called her, I just told her I was drunk so that she would stay on call and wouldn't take the things I said that seriously. After that, I just went on blabbering about just random stuff. I told her which one of her t-shirts I really like, how my phone has more photos of her than my own, how I am really into cooking and want her to come over for dinner sometime. We talked for 3 to 4 hours, and that was the best thing that happened to me in 2024. I don't think I will ever tell her I wasn't really drunk, because I will die of embarrassment if she ever found out. 12. My father gave my newborn half-sister my given name. I am my grandmother's namesake. In our culture, it's typical for only one of the daughters to take on the grandmother's name. I was the only daughter for 23 years, so it was given to me as my middle name as expected. My baby half-sister was born 2 weeks ago, and he gave her my grandmother's name as her first name. This is just one of a long line of things my father has done that have been hurtful and vindictive. He's a narcissist and is self-serving. He's always downplayed my hardships and has said and done things to bring me down. It felt like a knife to the gut. I am happy to have a sister. She is the second child to be born through his new marriage, which was a whole other situation entirely. But I love both my half-siblings with my whole heart because they did not ask for any of this, and they're innocent children. It bothers me, but I keep quiet to keep the peace. But it has really ruined what outlook I had left on my father, and has brought up a lot of things I had long since healed from, and I don't know what to do anymore. Story 13, 25 years since last kiss and other fun stuff. Last one I was January 1st, 2000. Even better, upper 50s and still no sex. The one opportunity to have sex, and I could not keep hard. Almost have to laugh. Life is loser. See, I remember I was 13, and I said to myself, you are 13 and already burned out on life. Life has not really gotten better. Very unattractive. Yes, I have been told. Zero athletic skills, birth issues, and was raised by a drunk mom as well as a narcissistic father. Skiff. Nothing like stopping your mom from committing suicide, or your dad from attacking my mom. Bullied all throughout school. The bullying taught me to not count on others to help you. Skiff. Crippling depression and zero self-confidence does not help either. Oh well. The good news is I saved and invested, so I don't need to work if I don't want to. Happy 2025. Story 14. I found my dad's AA journal by accident, and I feel so sad every time I think about it. My dad is a struggling alcoholic. He is an amazing, loving, adventurous, empathetic, social dad when he is not drinking. It comes in waves, and he will relapse quite often. He has never been more than 6 months sober, where he will drink for weeks. In these weeks, he destroys everything. His health, his career. He just recently lost his job again due to drinking. His relationships. He has said horrible things to my family members, and even my beloved little sister. He has pushed away due to his extremely hurtful words to her when he is drinking him. He has a lot of resentment toward her for being distant to him, and will message her telling her she is a horrible person, and he wishes she was never born. I am the eldest daughter. I am close with my dad despite his flaws, and he has never, ever lashed out at me as he has done with every other family member and friend. I love my family so much, maybe it is a fault of mine, that I love everyone so dearly, and I look past their flaws with such determination to love and protect each and every one. I am staying at my dad's house over the holidays, and was working on a manuscript draft for work at the desk when I needed to jot something down on a piece of paper. I reached for the nearest paper, which happened to be a small journal that was sitting at the desk. I found my dad's Alcoholics Anonymous notes in that journal. My dad has been attempting to get sober ever since I can remember. He has been drinking since I was born, in and out of rehabs, AA meetings, therapy, etc. In his notes, he wrote so eloquently, more so than I ever realized he could. He wrote about his pain, walking through life with unending anxiety and panic attacks, his deep regrets for hurting loved ones, and his wish to fix his relationships, but hopelessness in doing so. He wrote that he has given up on achieving anything in life, and he is scared the alcohol will kill him soon. But alcohol is the only thing that can tame the anxiety even when he is on medication. He wrote that he so badly wants to be loved and understood, but that he has caused so much pain he could never ask for sympathy. He wrote that he feels crippling loneliness, and he feels like he walks around the world absorbing the anger of loved ones he's hurt. It just makes me so sad, and I can't stop crying. Logically, I know that alcoholism is a disease, and of course he has these feelings and it is normal, but reading his own words for it makes me feel like the world is so unfair. Honestly, it makes me think of my mother as well, who I also love beyond words and struggle similarly. Both of my parents have raised me the best they could, with the love they could give, and I am soaring in life. I am the first to finish graduate school. I am studying a PhD and getting ready to change the world. I am living the life that my parents wanted, and I wish soon so bad that their lives could have turned out this way too. I am so sad that my dad has these painful feelings every day and has given up. Whew. I apologize for this rant, I just needed it off my chest. I don't want to admit to my dad that I read his journal. At the same time, I want to steal it. Take it away with me back to the country I am currently living in. Another way, I am living the dream that my parents have both told me they wanted, but that it will never happen. I just wish that the world could have dealt them better cards, or at least that it could send them true happiness and peace for their lifetime struggles. I feel guilty that I ran away to Europe to pursue my dream career in life, while my dad is drowning in this pain alone. I miss my family, love my family, and wish I could be there every day for them. Story 15. Accused of touching classmate in 2nd grade. I was a bit of a weird kid, not gonna lie. I had a bunch of quirks and really hated being touched, which I later realized had a lot to do with some rough stuff in my childhood and being autistic, though I didn't know that back then. Anyway, there was this new girl in my class who ended up in all my classes because we had the same homeroom. We didn't really talk. I mostly hung out with my usual friends and kids from my pre-K classes. One day in music class, we're sitting in the front row, and she's next to me on my left. Her leg kept touching mine, and I pulled away, pretty obviously, like, twice. But then it happened again, and I got frustrated, so I just pushed her thigh with both hands and let out this annoyed sound. Fast forward to the next day. I'm called to principal's office with the guidance counselor. They're all serious, asking if I know we're not supposed to touch private parts. I'm like, yes. And then they ask, so why is this saying you touched her private parts? I was shocked and told them exactly what happened, that I just pushed her leg because she kept pressing it against mine. They didn't really listen. They just pulled out the handbook, called it a level 1 offense, and suspended me for 3 days. When they called my adoptive mom at work, she just said, okay, and didn't even ask what happened. When I got home, I got one of the worst belt beatings ever, because now she had to pay for a babysitter and thought I was some kid going around touching people. Looking back, I think that was the first time I truly felt like no one had my back. I just had to figure stuff out on my own, you know? Not gonna lie, this still kind of pisses me off even after 23 years. This just popped in my head out of nowhere today, so I just had to get it off my chest. Story 16. Finally hit delete. I did it. I actually freaking did it. Snapchat? Gone. Instagram? Deleted. X? Still a dumb name. Bye. TikTok? Adios. Study. It's just me, Reddit, and Discord now. And let me tell you, my brain is having a meltdown over it. But what about that one retweet you'll never see again? As to 2. The 300 bookmarked recipes you'll never make? You have to send more Insta Reels nobody will actually watch. Spoiler alert, I didn't need any of it. I never did. Its place. It's wild. But deleting everything felt like ripping out a toxic IV drip I didn't realize was slowly killing me. Now, I'm filling the space with real stuff library books, my Audible queue, waiting for my Kindle to arrive like a kid on Christmas morning. I'm even trying to piece together a routine that doesn't revolve around doom scrolling or obsessing over latest trends, seeking validating comments, or just flat out watching other people's lives through rose-tinted frames. The internet since 2018? Absolute chaos for me. Fights, harassment, IRL threats. People who I'm convinced crawled out of hell just to mess with me. At one point, I was almost arrested over BS I didn't even do. Every app, every DM, every post felt like another layer of stress stacking up until I just cracked. Honestly, the internet stopped being just a screen. It spilled into my real life in the ugliest ways. And people? Ugh. I lost so much faith in humanity, watching the absolute worst of it play out in real time. So yeah, no more. I'm done. And honestly, the real world isn't so bad when you stop staring at the glowing rectangle. Like, I forgot how nice birds sound, or how sweet it is to see an elderly couple walk along the shore, hearing someone laugh so hard they snort at the movie theaters. How gorgeous sunsets look without a filter. I'm not saying I'm completely healed or that I trust everyone now. LOL, absolutely not. But the longer I'm off, the more I feel like, maybe, just maybe, the real world and its inhabitants aren't all terrible. Anyway, if you're thinking about ditching social media, this is your sign to just do it. It's scary and weird, and your brain will fight you every step of the way. But on the other side, it's kind of peaceful. Story 17. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, friend. It's been 630 days since you left, so I thought I'd update you on how life is going. Your son, and I miss you terribly. And don't worry, I will never let him forget you. He looks more like you every day. I wish you could have seen him at homecoming with his girlfriend. We've become pretty close with most of your family. We spend holidays with your dad, and I call your mom on Sundays. We all miss you so much. I'm still angry and sad that you won't get to see him grow into a man. He turned 16 this year. He got his permit this fall, and I wish he could have driven to your house. But I have him practice driving to your neighborhood, and he's already gonna be a better driver than you. Just kidding, but you know it's true, lol. The last time I texted your phone, someone said I had the wrong number. So instead of texting you this year, I had to write my note to the void of Reddit. But it helps just to get it off my chest. I love you and miss you always. Happy birthday and happy new year. And rest in peace, friend. Story 18. I feel like my dad is going to die soon. I have this really bad anxiety and feeling that my dad is going to die this year. For reference, I'm 15 and my dad is, I think 56? Either way, when we were counting down for the new year, and I looked at him, and I got this horrible feeling in my chest that hasn't gone away. I've been scared to talk or type about this because I'm scared I'm going to manifest it into reality or something, and I've prayed, but the feeling won't go away, and I'm really scared. I'm only 15 and my family really needs him. What if he can never walk me down the aisle? I know I'm being kind of crazy and this is probably the wrong sub, but IDKEL. Besides the emotional bits, my family is in medical debt because my eldest sister, who's 19, is really disabled and in a wheelchair, and she's mentally sick. My mom only works part-time, and I'm probably only able to go to college like my sister because my grandparents are well off. I just don't know how to get rid of this feeling. Should I just pray or talk to someone? I'm so scared, which I've already said, but I'm kind of spiraling here. The only way I've been able to avoid the feeling is by talking with my friend, who slept over for New Year's, and talking with other friends too, but it keeps coming back. Go. Anyways, any advice would be really appreciated. If you have any, sorry if this isn't interesting or something. Story 19. Favoritism ruins relationships. I have two older brothers. One is 35 and the other is 32. Then there's me, 20, and honestly, it sucks. Malamus. I know I'm the unwanted one in the family. No matter what I do, it's never enough or appreciated. But when my brothers do the smallest thing, they get all the praise. When something goes wrong, I'm always the one blamed, and my parents are constantly yelling at me for no reason. I get stuck with all the chores, and if I try to stand up for myself when my brothers walk all over me, I'm in the wrong. I can't even share my opinions. It's like I'm just supposed to exist and do what I'm told. It's the same with my extended family. They call me to help with chores but never acknowledge me or anything I do. I don't care about being anyone's favorite, but I hate being treated like the outcast or the ugly duck. Growing up in an abusive household where no one listens to you unless there's a fight makes it worse. Now, I'm in university, but during holidays, or every 3 weeks, I go back home for the weekend. My brothers, on the other hand, work in Dubai and only visit once a year. It's exhausting and frustrating to always feel like I don't matter.